अस्सलाम वालेकुम, वेलकम टू आज की बैठक। मेरा प्रोग्राम देखने का, पसंद करने का और फीडबैक देने का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। आप इस प्रोग्राम को हर वीकेंड आज टीवी पे देख सकते हैं। और मैं अपना ये प्रोग्राम जो है इर्द गिर्द के जो हालात हैं, जो मेरे इर्द गिर्द होता रहता है, उस पर बेस करती हूँ। आज का मेरा ऐसा ही एक टॉपिक है, बल्कि बहुत सारे 2-3 ऐसे टॉपिक हैं जो मेरे इर्द गिर्द के आजकल जो मूवमेंट्स हैं उन पे बेस किया हुआ है मैंने। कहते हैं कि अल्लाह के बाग में जब फूल कम हो जाए तो वो ज़मीन से चुन लेता है। ऐसा ही एक हादसा पिछले हफ्ते हुआ और हमने कुछ बच्चों की जान खो दी। इसकी डिटेल तो हमें नहीं मालूम और हम उस पर जाएंगे भी नहीं, बट मैंने आज जिस अपनी गेस्ट को बुलाया, शी इज़ अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट, और उससे हम ये सिर्फ डिस्कस करेंगे कि ये एज अ कलेक्टिव सोसाइटी हमारी ये सब की तमाम की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि ऐसे हादसा बार बार ना हों। तो लेट मी इंट्रोड्यूस पॉला कॉलरन। Thank you for coming to my show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Let me tell the audience a little bit about you, about your background. Paula Colran studied psychology and fine arts, conducted research on happiness and how to achieve happiness, works for a non-profit organization where she used art as a therapeutic medium to children to express themselves and control their emotions, mentor for autism with children, and loves doing aerial yoga and painting on acrylic.
Yeah, that's me, definitely.
That's you? Wonderful. So Paula, I would like to start, I've divided my show in 3 different segments because I think there are too many topics that we need to discuss. But the first one I want to specifically dedicate to, the incident that happened at Galveston, school shooting. And I feel that, we've all talked about gun control and whatnot, but as a society, we are also responsible as parents, as friends, as as colleagues, we are also responsible for these incidents and for the people around us. So my first question, I guess, would be with you is, who are these kids? I mean, like when these things happen in Pakistan or in other countries, and in Palestine, all these places where people have, we always say they're terrorists and whatnot. But what about these kids who are living in America in this wonderful society? They have everything. So what goes off in their mind that they go and do something like this, such heinous crime?
Yeah, that's a really good question because we wonder who is capable of doing that, and the answer is that any of us could do these things.
Really?
Yes, because if we see this can happen to anybody because we all can have a breakdown. It's really complex to explain what would be the causes for a person to be pushed into such a crime like this. And it really varies with 3 different main components.
Okay.
And I'd like to bring out the psychosocial approach because how it says, it has our psychology part, like everything that we think, our personality, our moods. Then our social part, how we interact with others, our surroundings, like what we do every day. And then our biological part. This involves our genes that we have inherited from our parents, and that can, that can bring like some mental problems or some physical problems as well. So if we see it from this perspective, we're going to see that there are 3 components that are going to be interacting with one another. So one can influence a person more. For example, if you're being bullied at school every day, you don't have communication with your parents, you did not have a strong self-esteem, you were not able to communicate what is happening to you freely, because it's really hard. Some people it's better to be quiet because nobody's gonna know they're not gonna believe me, so nobody's gonna help me. Mm-hmm. But that's why we have to teach our children, you have to talk what's going on. You have to watch what they're watching. Are they watching something that it's like influence them to be more aggressive? Of course, it's an interaction of everything. But the problem is that how we're going to react as social beings to something that is hurting us deeply inside. Our internal mechanism is going to say, okay, I have to defend myself. And since these kids are very young, they don't know what is the healthy approach. That's why we, as a society, as professionals, as the adults, need to teach our younger generations how to approach things in a healthy way. So we don't have these chaotic crimes that is just like a helping call saying, hey, I'm not feeling okay.
Yeah, but these kids, what you are saying is completely different from what I always thought. I thought that these kids had mental issues from the very beginning or psychological issues. But you are saying that, a perfectly normal person can just go off one day?
Yes, as I said again, there is some profiles. The explanation is very complex, but of course we can have scientific approach to see this. And there is two very important things that we can bring to explain that question.
There have to be off signs, you know, there have to be, like, you know, it's one thing that you shoot yourself, you commit suicide, and that's one thing. And I think that's, you know, an extreme of desperation as well. But to actually go on a killing spree, and your friends.
Yeah, I know, it's very complex.
And this is not even family. Like, you know, my wife was abusing me, or the husband was abusing me, or, you know, or the, you know, so it's not even that case. It's difficult to understand.
It is very difficult to understand, but we have to come from the point that we're social beings. And there is an experiment that I like a lot, where this person, what they did is they recreate like a prison, and then they put, you know, different roles. Like, let's say the prisoner and then the police. And this is just an experiment. They have to shoot down the experiment in less than 5 days because people were like actually abusing the police person that was in the role.
They got carried away with their emotions.
Yeah, like they really thought this is like something serious. Less than a week, they have to shoot it down. They were doing like very bizarre things.
Really?
And it's been scientific. That's why I said any of us can do these things because we're social beings and we're going to adapt to the roles we're playing. And as I told you, they can be, these kids don't have like all the coping skills to deal with these aggressive punishment that they're being exposed every day. So they don't know how to deal. That's why we're here, to guide them. So they will just do whatever it can. They think it's the worst, but again, it has to be the combination with the other things. As you mentioned, it could be a psychological problem, but not necessarily. So if we look up like the statistics, the profiles that these guys have had, you know, and have committed these shootings, not all of them had to have psychological problems to do this.
Okay, but still, like you mentioned that incident, like that, you know, the training or whatever it was, that was a situation that was created, right?
An experiment.
And they were experiment that was created, and they were reacting to it immediately. But in this case, they're planning. You know, they're gathering all this ammunition, so it's something that's turning them high.
Right, but remember, this experiment lasts less than 5 days.
Yeah.
In less than 5 days, like this person were having like outbursts, like psychological outbursts that they might be not even cured forever because they were doing bizarre things that we don't necessarily have to mention them. But I'm telling you, they were very bizarre in less than 5 days. So this has been like a good. Adding to the scientific literature because we can see how we as social beings can react. It depends. Of course, crimes they can happen over a night. Like for example, if someone is going to attack you, you have to defend yourself.
That's self-defense.
Exactly. But others, like you mentioned, they have to be planned. They require time. So that's why it is again like combination of 3 things. So again, like their social environment is going to play a huge role. That's why I liked the meaning that you said at the beginning. We have a responsibility as a community. This is not something because this person is always being mentally ill, or it's not because this person hasn't been given coping skills.
Because these children were in regular schools and they were living regular lives, and obviously they are killing their friends. So they had friends.
Exactly.
But in some cases they were loners. Sometimes they're loners. They don't have many friends.
But did you see?
So that's one thing also that affects them. They kind of they're angry.
Exactly. So we have to again come to these components and see what it was missing. Was it missing the 3 components? Was it just one? Was the psychological, the social, or the biological?
Okay.
And then we can investigate and navigate deep in the problem, because it's so easy to say, oh, this kid was a crazy, he's always been a loner. It's logical that he might.
there's no one theory for everybody.
No, so that's why I like the broader approach that the science brought us about the biopsychosocial approach, because we can see how our physical health intervenes and interacts with our mental health. Because some people, we have this taboo that we don't want to talk about mental health. Oh, if you talk about mental health, you're crazy. And it's not true. The thing is that how we feel, it really affects how we are like physically. So it's very important to start to navigate and teach this in our kids in an early age. And that's what I do when I run these psychological programs. Early intervention is the key, because if you provide the coping skills in an early age, when they come to teen years, they're going to be able to react to pressure, to react to, you know, a bully. So they know what to do because they don't know anything.
So okay, so let's see. You know, I mean, I know you're saying, and I know everybody kind of says, oh, the movies and the video games. I know they're making things feel, they make the child feels that it's nothing, but still, no, you know, people don't go out and kill people. So
Exactly.
there has to be something, and luckily it doesn't happen every day, or it's not every person who's going crazy around us anyway. So, but I still would like to know, what is the breaking point? Like, what happens to these people, or how do we stop it? Or how do we see there's a sign besides knowing that there are guns in the house and that this child is collecting guns?
Right, that's
too obvious. That's the end of it, basically.
Right. So we can see it from different approaches or from the different roles that we all play in society.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what can I do as a parent?
Yes.
We can like see it from that perspective. What can I do as a classmate?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do as a professional?
Yeah.
You know, and see like what are our responsibilities and what proactive approach we can take to prevent those things, or in fact, you know, just have a positive impact in the person or the people that we have in our everyday basis, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so walk me through these different relationships. As a parent, what are our signs that we need to worry about?
Okay, so we have like, for example, as a parent, they are the ones who have like the highest responsibility. I know it's hard, but they are the ones who educate their children. So this is what is very important, that since they're in an early age, what type of discipline style I am, you know, providing to my child. I am very responsive to the good and bad things they're doing, or I'm just like really don't care and let them do whatever they want. Mm-hmm. So we start to set up boundaries.
Okay.
It is not okay to do these things from an early age. So we start to create this cognitive schema, and a schema is just like the like all the I imagine it like as a folders in our mind that we
Okay.
start to collect since an early age.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, we have to see, okay, what type of entertainment is my child doing?
Okay.
Like having.
Mm-hmm.
Is he like playing like violent games all the time? Because in fact, science has proven that our learning style is it's in base of like we depend on one another to learn. You know, so if there what we're seeing, there is another study. It's called the bubble doll. Mm-hmm. And this learning theory talks about how children would see in a TV like an adult, like just pushing like a bubble doll, and you know, like being physical to the bubble doll, and then in another scenario, the child would directly see how the adult was again like being aggressive towards the bubble doll. And in the results found that the child in both scenarios, when he would see like an adult being aggressive towards the bubble doll, he will actually try to imitate it.
Okay.
In the third,
children are great imitators, but I would think that they would put younger kids, not the older kids, right?
yes, we're talking about from an early
Okay,
stage.
from early stages. Okay.
Yeah, so this is like the learning theory. That's what we
Okay.
call it. But
Okay.
again, as we go like
So this is basically setting the pattern. That's what you're saying.
exactly, and after that, we still have these learning theories that we, like we try to replicate like what others know, because in fact, that's how we can survive. So again, so if we expose our children to aggressive media, they're gonna start to become more aggressive. So we're setting the pattern, as you said. And as they start to grow older, they're gonna, try to do things that they are already like aware of, like what they like, because they've been exposed the most to any specific things. Mm-hmm. Instead, if we provide like different activities for our children that are not aggressive, it's gonna have a positive impact. So you see, like, it's very powerful. So communication is another key. What type of communication I'm setting with my child? My child can tell me everything that happens, or I am very. I put this wall between my child and I, where my child doesn't feel the trust to tell me their problems. Because guess what? If they don't have like good communication with you, they're gonna have communication with people.
Somebody else.
Who are not gonna guide them the best. Because parents want the best for their children. So that's why we have to be able to give them this freedom to talk to us so they can feel comfortable.
Okay, but still, let's say as a teenager, what are the signs, like, we really need to be careful on this. What are the signs that we should be looking for?
Okay.
Or as a friend, or as a neighbor, or somebody in the society.
Okay, so again, as we said, like we already have these patterns that we set up in an early age, so we are gonna know like a transition, like what my child likes or not likes it. So when they're teenagers, it's a very complex age because they like to do, whatever they want. want. They think that they don't need anybody to tell them. But if we had already set up these communication things, we're gonna start to see, how is my child, doing at home? Is a happy person? Is someone who, who talks about their feelings freely? Do I make sure that my child has a safe environment at school? Like, I have to be very proactive. What is my child watching on their YouTube? What type of friends they have?
No, but that's a very wide range. But what are the signs? Like,
Right.
is he a loner? I mean, but
Exactly.
then again, we don't want to label children here either. Just because a child doesn't make friends doesn't mean that he's going to go out and shoot people.
No.
Yeah.
But if I know what his interests or her interests are, I'm gonna be able
Basically,
to see.
keep a close eye. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. So if I know that my child has like a very deep interest on guns, or like this kid that was posting on Facebook and Instagram, like born to kill. I mean, like,
Yeah,
if you're
that's
a
a bit
parent,
too much.
Why didn't the parents or the person responsible for this child, communicate this, take the child to a psychologist, try to talk to them? Why this was on the internet and nobody say anything?
Nobody did anything. We have to go for a break, Paula. I thought we could discuss it, but it seems like a very wide topic. We'll probably have to continue with it later on. But I think right now all I'm going to say is, as a parent, as a teacher, it's our responsibility to make sure what the kids are doing. And we all know, as a society, we all know that we have to vote the right people who will put a gun, who will actually stand for gun control. We'll be back. And we are back with Aaj Ki Baithak. And now I'm going to discuss the second most important topic that's going on these days is #MeToo, which I think I'm going to associate with women empowerment as well, because this truly is 2017 and 2018 has truly turned out to be Women Year, where women have actually come out and have talked about the harassment that they've suffered all these years, for decades apparently, at the hands of very powerful men. And now is the time when actually somebody started to believe them and has actually taken actions, and women have very successfully brought very successful men down, very powerful men down. Since a lot of women, and even of our community, have started to go into work field and they are in very high places, if a situation like this arises, as a counselor, as a psychologist, how should one deal with it? How should one address it?
I think that the best way that a woman should approach like such an sad incident is that they have to be very confident. They shouldn't be scared.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be scared of men. Like, you have to be very firm and say, I do not like this situation. I want you to step back. Do not touch me. Like, be very firm. Because if you show like that you're fearful, like you're scared of something, they might take advantage of you.
Yes.
But if you are firm and you set up your boundaries, they should say, oh, this is not a typical woman.
Yeah.
I cannot be like as aggressive with her. And they would feel the same. Whatever you feel, they would sense it. So you have to be very, very strong with your words. Just not only with your words, but physically, you have to step back and say, do not even think about it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very important. And of course, then go and report to HR.
Definitely. And that's the next thing. You do not want to protect your perpetrator.
No.
If something happened, you have to report it. Because if you don't tell anything, this person might do the same to someone else, and someone who might be scared of and wouldn't respond as firm as you would do it. So that's why we need to report it. So an entity with more power can do something about it, resolve the problem,
Someone said that she faced a situation like this, and then nothing was being done about it, and that it became really uncomfortable for her to go to work. What should she do, or what should one do in a situation like that? How do you handle it? I mean, now she has to handle it herself.
Right, and I love that you bring this scenario because this scenario happens all over.
This is very common.
Yeah, like sometimes the perpetuator just, goes his life along, like nothing happened, nobody took like any solution on it.
And it doesn't need to be something serious. It can be just that somebody was just rude to you, or somebody is just obnoxious, obnoxious colleague. But he is in that same, or she is in that same room that you're working in, the same environment, and you have to face that person every day. It kind of ruins your work environment. Now,
Definitely.
but that's why it's a good job.
And you have to go to work.
And you have to go. So what do you do?
Well, again, like any type of incident, like any type of assault, for little that it could look, you shouldn't stand it. And if you feel uncomfortable with this, what you have to do is like you have to be very confident.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. If you do what is right and you confront the situation how you were supposed to do, you report it and nobody did anything, you did what you have to do. So you have to go to work and just create this good environment in yourself. That's why it's very important to have a strong self-esteem.
Okay.
That's because if you have a strong self-esteem, you're going to have self-confidence. And if you have self-confidence, you're going to handle situations as how you want it, not how others want to make you feel.
Paula, the younger generation is, very confident. They are educated over here. I feel that they are much more confident than my generation. But my generation is also in the work field. And there are situations that have arisen that my generation, was taught to be nice and to be polite, more not to be this aggressive as younger generation is. What would you tell them to improve their self-esteem without getting still being in their comfort zone? I mean, I know that there are situations where you have to get out of your comfort zone, but still be, are you understanding my generation?
Yes, definitely.
I mean, we really can't become like your generation. There's a huge difference.
Of course.
We can't cross that bridge, but yet I feel that my generation has to really become stronger in our relationships, in our in our environment, in our workplace, just generally in life.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned this scenario because this woman had raised our generation, making the women who we are. So we definitely need to concentrate on them as well. And what I would recommend them is that they need to start from inside. To improve their self-esteem, they have to accept their good and the bad things that they have inside and outside.
Okay.
Because, as we age, it's a very hard process that it affects us. It affects all of us, not only women.
Yeah.
So accepting that we're transitioning through many changes and accepting and, just own ourselves internally and physically. Doesn't matter what X person says, doesn't matter what role that person might play in my life. I love myself. I accept myself. And again, as I told you, if I make sure that I'm doing what is right, I'm a good mother, I'm a good worker, I don't do any damage to anybody, I don't harm them. So I'm doing what is right. And I'm accepting, I'm loving myself. And that's what is important. That would work for any type of generation, and that would help everybody to create a solid self-esteem. A self-esteem that doesn't depend on what others says. Of course, what others says is going to influence us at some point. So the key is to make sure that it doesn't influence us the most. Just a little bit,
Yeah, just where we can handle it.
Right.
Where we can process it and know what to do next.
Because we're social beings.
Yeah.
There is no such a thing, I do not care what anybody says. No, that's not true. Because we're social beings. But the key is, again, make sure that what people say or think about us is not going to define what we think about ourselves.
I'm going to run two scenarios by you. One is, the world has changed from when I was a child. And I know someone who was sexually abused by family members. And of course, nobody believed her. And I'm sure things like that unfortunately happen now also, where nobody believes them. But I'm going to address my generation again, where there was no counseling available at that time. And nobody wanted to face it to start with. Nobody wanted to admit it. So now when they're older, in their 50s, 40s and 50s, and that has affected their life, it has affected their marriage, it has affected their relationships, how do they move forward? I mean, I know counseling is one thing, but still they have to kind of deal with it every day. How do they process it now that they're older, they're smarter? They
had a life.
Yeah. What do they do? How does one process this thing?
You mentioned the most important thing that someone with
And again, I'm going to talk about my generation, who's much more timider than the younger generation.
And they didn't have as many resources as women in my, like nowadays have, because back then it's like, forget about it. There are many things that we can enjoy right now that women in the past didn't. So definitely, you know, it's very important to first look professional help, because when you have professional help, they're going to give you all the coping skills or all the resources that we have to deal with those things. Because some people, they don't have to know these things. Not everybody should. Instead, a professional can guide you to express and to cure those scars that they're being there for so many years, and that at some point have affected this person. So definitely the therapeutic way is the best approach. Of course, another thing that many people don't have, like therapeutic resources available. So one thing that I always recommend is that, you know, you have to have like this diary where you express everything you feel, the good and bad things, but mainly concentrate in the positive things you have, how grateful you are with life. You know, we're still alive regardless of. We cannot change the past. So if we concentrate in our future and we can just concentrate all our energy in the positive things we have, it's going to help us, you know, to deal with this pain and to actually, you know, put it far away where this thing can no longer hurt me. Because, you know,
how do you break habits? I'm going to run another scenario by you. You know, we are all, everything is Facebook these days. Everybody's live, Facebook live and whatnot, and putting videos there and make cooking and, you know, whatnot. But I know somebody who's, you know, very smart, you know, and, you know, like in her other aspects of life, she's very good. But she's so, you know, we asked her, I said, why don't you put a video on Facebook? And she goes, no, I don't want to do it. I don't feel comfortable about it. It's out of my comfort zone. I don't know how to handle it. And we were just, you know, we were saying that maybe there are some things that you just say, okay, you know what? I don't have the confidence, like my, you know, a friend of mine was saying, I don't have the confidence to do this, but I'm going to just put that aside. I'm scared of it, but I'm going to put that aside and go ahead and do it. What do you suggest? I
definitely suggest that. Just get out from your comfort zone. Because again, we come to the point that we're social beings. So we're scared, oh, what people are going to think about me.
What will people say, what they're going to think about me.
We all think the same. But when we get out from our comfort zone, that's when we start to experience, it wasn't as bad. I really didn't care as much as I thought I was going to care. And then you start to do more and more things. So definitely that's the best way.
Do it and then just get out there and do it.
And and then you will progressively do more and more and more till you feel, okay, this is enough for me. The point is that you have to have a balance, you know, because you don't want to go all the way to the back or all the way to forward, you know, so you will find where you can find your balance and you will find peace between yourself that will bring you peace
that you're
and
able
happiness.
To do it. Okay, I know that, you know, whenever I ask someone, you know, how to build self-esteem, they always say, oh, the parents have to do this and it has to start from the very beginning. Now that part is over. How does one in their 20s, 30s, 40s, you know, 50s say, you know, okay, I don't have this, you know, how do they all of a sudden, or what should they do to build that self-esteem from that point onwards?
Yeah, like there is this therapeutic exercise that I mentioned before, where you have to like write a table where you put good and bad things, internally and physically, and then you start to put them. But you have to really analyze this. This is not something that you're gonna do in one day, because sometimes it's hard for some people to find some bad things because they have like an inflated ego, or some other people would have like a very low self-esteem where they wouldn't find like their positive things. So you have to be very objective, write them down, and after that, just embrace them, own them, say yes. I have good and bad things, and that's okay. There is not such a perfect person. These people and celebrities that we see on the TV, they don't look like that in real life.
No, and they also have tons of psychological issues. Their marriages don't work. They're alcoholics. They are drug addicts. They have too many issues of, you know, that they are dealing with.
And that's the reality. Unfortunately, some people think that, oh, they only see like the outer face, like they don't see deep inside, and they think, oh my gosh, I wish I looked like that, I wish my life was like that. But they don't know what is really going on. So when we're able to embrace everything inside us and own ourselves, we're gonna say, yes, this is me, this is how I look, that's fine. I have problems inside, I have things that I don't like on my outer side, and that's okay. We all have it. So when we are able to, embrace those things, we're going to start to work a solid self-esteem. Because it doesn't matter what the person I like might say about me. Oh, you're ugly or you're pretty. That's not really going to affect me because I know I'm valuable for what I am inside here.
But that's very hard. It's easier said than done.
It is, but to tell you, it was a point in my life where I did not have a solid self-esteem. And I had to work hard. And it really, after I did a lot of research about self-esteem, and it was really hard for me.
You're still very young. What are you talking about?
I know, and I'm still working.
Okay.
But I feel, and it will always work because we are always in a growing stage. But I can say truly that I have achieved a solid self-esteem because it was not the case. I didn't like how it looked physically. I was very insecure. And then when I started, as I told you, when I started to do research and navigate how media manipulates, the models look, how they influence me, I said, oh my gosh, this is all fake. We all have problems. We all look bad sometimes, and that's okay. We have to love ourselves for who we are inside and just, concentrate in other aspects and not as superficial, because that's the problem. We live in a superficial society and we're getting bombarded all the time with superficialistic advertisers, money here, beauty there, a skinny thing.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah,
so
true.
It's
it really
too
is
much.
too much.
And if I'm all the time watching Instagram, look at this model. What?
Yeah, why can't I look like that?
Yeah, so I have to stop what I'm watching. Instead of that, why don't I watch
Stop
something
beating
different?
yourself and actually start liking yourself.
So you have to own it and see what you're doing proactively to change what you don't like about these thoughts, because everything starts right here. Right here. It really is not much about this, but right here and right here.
So the women who are looking at you right now, what are you going to tell them?
I will tell them that they're beautiful and they're valuable regardless of. That you have to accept yourself. You have to own the beauty things that you have inside and the bad things that you might not like as well. And once you're able to embrace it and accept it without any judgments, without anything in the past or in the future, just living the present and doing the best you can, you're going to feel secure. You're going to work with a solid self-esteem, and you're going to be more happy.
Women who are getting divorced at this age and they're starting all over again, it's very hard. Again, there's a confidence issue, there's a self-esteem issue. And it seems like it's growing, you know?
And it's also a difference between, let's say, a woman from your generation that might get divorced.
Yeah.
Compared to a woman of my generation.
Exactly, because my generation woman has been a housewife. That is why her marriage dragged on for so long and the abuse went on for so long.
And that's so unfortunate.
That's so unfortunate. So how do they, again, I know self-esteem and confidence, but how do they do it?
Which scenario? What woman of what generation?
My generation. And a housewife and getting divorced and now needs to start her life all over again. What does she do?
It's very hard. Because a housewife might not have education, so going in the work field,
education,
I'm talking about professional education. Of course, they must have way better education from different other perspectives. But I'm talking about a career that might be useful in the work field.
Yeah.
That might pay you better. So it's very complicated. But again, we have resources nowadays that they can still go back to school, maybe from 1 year for an associate. Something that would help them to transit to the work field where they can have a decent payment. I took classes with older people, and I personally enjoyed it because they're more serious. When they go to school, they go to study. They don't go to lose their time.
Yeah, because they're going by choice. They are not. It's like they're expected to go. They're going because they need to go.
So it's never too late. So the idea is to see where do you want to go, what type of life do you want to have, what is the budget you would like to have. Set up your priorities. Do I want to have a luxury life? Because we have different housewives that come from different socioeconomic status. So we have to see what are their priorities. Do I only want to have a decent life where I can live in peace and pay my bills, enjoy with my family if they have children, so then there is resources again, education. They can get some education, a short years, or even if they want to pursue a 5-year degree, they can still do it. And in the side, and they can work. In here in America, we have so many job opportunities, which is not the case in other countries.
Yeah.
So we have to evaluate the market, see our priorities, and have an action plan. Like they don't have to give up. There is never too late. You know, if you want to do it, sometimes you have to take this strain from inside after you're being hurt, after you just feel broken, but you can still do it. There is resources right there.
Wonderful advice. We need to go for a break, and all I'm going to say is, women, just get up and go do it. Forget about being worried about anything. This program is sponsored by Berkey Realty Group, and we'll be back. And we are back with Aaj Ki Baithak and my guest, a young psychologist, Paula Colleran. Paula, now I think we've discussed so many issues, and there are, as living life here or any part of the world, you know, our lives are so, as women, we play so many roles. Like yesterday, I was telling somebody I was a daughter in the morning. I think I was telling you.
Yeah, actually.
I was a daughter in the morning, then I was a realtor, then I was a wife, and then I was a talk show host. It's just so many hats that I was wearing, and then, you know, I'm a grandma, so I have and then I'm a mother, you know, just so many roles that we constantly, and then with all this that's going on in our lives, I mean, we are taking care of the house, we are working women to start with, and then we're taking care of the house, and then we're taking care of the kids, and, you know, it just continues and rolls on, and then we have elderly parents living with us. We forget about ourselves. And when I was reading your bio, it says you researched on happiness, and of course that's why, and I think that is why a lot of women of my age, of my generation, have become very unhappy, and they've kind of, you know, it's very hard to drag them out to be, you know, spend an evening with just friends or do anything. What's your advice on that?
Well, I like to always bring scientific, you know, approaches.
Okay.
And there is this approach that I like about the Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Okay.
This was the baseline for my research, and pretty much he talks about a pyramid where you have to move forward like one another to, you know, like find this happiness. So we already talked about some of these elements through our segments, and we talked about the biological part, we talked about the psychological or sociological part. And then we're going to talk right now about our innate needs. That is like the base of all this pyramid. So our innate needs are like the things that we need to do as just humans, like sleep, eat. So I formulate this hypothesis where I said our spirituality is an innate need. And it's a really important component for us to be happy as humans. So after we do this, we can move forward to the other three elements that we talk, and then we have our inspirational element that I added to this pyramid. And when I talk about inspirational things, are the things that we just enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Because you have things that you like to do, and that's very subjective, and I do as well, and I'm sure like
everybody has different likes and interests.
So that's why it's very important to have a subjective and an objective point of view about happiness, because someone might say, oh, I'm just happy, you know, sleeping all the day, I don't want to work, and that makes me happy. Well, that's not like very logical.
I think that's depression to start with.
Exactly. So that's why there is a huge importance to think about having an objectivity, and that's why I love to bring science, because when we test like a hypothesis, we experiment it, we report it, and we can see, hey, this works. So my recommendation is that, as you said, we cannot forget about ourselves. You said I have the role of mom, like a worker, this and that, but what about your role as a being? The connection between yourself. And this is very important for all of us, because we have to make time in the day for ourselves. I know
men are very good at this. They always you know, my husband, he's an extremely busy man, and yet he'll take the time out for gym, he'll take his time out for his friends, you know, no matter what's happening around him. If he has a commitment with his friends, he's going to go. Whereas women, if they have a commitment with their friends, and this happens all the time, You know, they'll find, oh, my kid wants me, my husband wants me, we have to go this, we have to go somewhere else, something else has come up. It's like, you know, please, you know, one day you can't take an hour out of your life for a month. You know, in a whole month, like we have this group.
It's true. This is a fact. What you're saying, I'm sure it's a fact.
It happens every day.
Yeah, I call this woman superwomen.
Yeah.
Because they do all these things and they can handle their life, but sometimes inside they are getting tired.
Yeah, they are tired.
And it's just not okay. Because if men take time off for themselves, we can do it too.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, some cultures like tend to, you know, don't give this right to the woman, and it's really hard to tell this to a person that might be married for many years with this person, and it's really hard to change all this game all of a sudden.
I think it's women themselves. I really think it's women themselves. I know what you're talking about, but it's that, you know, those cases are different, you know, but like even for me, you know, I have so many other commitments that it's difficult for me to kind of take that time out. So that is why, I mean, we as women have to really train ourselves.
Exactly, and that's, of course, like we were talking, there are several factors, but everything starts of what you just said. Everything starts between me.
Yes.
Like, I want to do this. I have to set up this boundary. Why? Because I want it. Because we're a teamwork. Let's help us out. If you take time off, I need some time off. And as you said, this is very important because this is the coping skills that we can use every day to deal with all this stress that we have in all these different roles that we play. So if we take this time, I don't know, like if a person, some moms are very busy. They cannot take too much time. So they can take at least 20 minutes for themselves. Just go take a long shower, fill up the bathtub, you know, just get in there, don't think about anything, play music, and then, you know, recharge your energy, and okay, go on to dinner. But those 20 minutes is for you. Take it to do whatever you want. You want to be on your phone, you want to read, do it. But you have to take it, because if they don't take it, they're gonna put this charge, and then another load, till there's gonna be a break point.
Yeah.
They're gonna have just a breakdown.
I mean, you yourself become an unhappy person, and then you're screaming at your kids, and you're fighting with your husband because you're tired.
Exactly.
You're tired inside, you're tired outside, you're physically tired.
Exactly. And again, as you said, if you're physically tired, your mental health is going to be affected.
Yeah.
And if you're mentally tired, your physical health is going to be affected. And this is it's been scientifically proven. This is not something that, you know, that I'm suggesting. It is true. In fact, your mental health is reciprocal with your physical health. So we need to, you know, work in both to actually have what I call an optimum well-being. You know, that it's just the whole, or everything as a human, so we can be like just on point. And when we have an optimum well-being, we can take the best out of us, not the worst out of us, because when we're not of that, like we might, you know, act negatively towards others, because again, as you said, we're tired, either physically or mentally.
Yeah, you have to. How important is friendship, women friendship?
You know, again, we go again to the social thing. Is very important because this is our support system.
Yes.
Where we can just go talk about women things, and we can do what women like to do. And it's the same for men. They have these patterns of conversations, these activities that they like to do. So this is their support system. When something is not going right and you don't want to go to a therapist, or, you know, you just go with your friends and talk. Therapy is one of the best, you know, when you just go out with your friends and you talk, you just have fun. It's just going to bring you a relief. It's going to take you out of this routine that you're just so stuck on it, and you will be able to enjoy life. Because, you know, the key of happiness, what I've found, is just appreciate little things every day. Happiness is like a trip. It's not something, it's like you go, and while you navigate on it, like you have to experience happiness. It's not like going to one destiny to another one, but it's like just a transition, you know, towards that pathway. So you definitely have to work on your happiness every day.
Okay. So people who are watching you, what are you going to tell them how to be happy?
If you want to be happy, you have to be very grateful. Concentrate in the positive things that you have in life. Take away all the negativity and just experience life, because being alive is such a great blessing that why you should care about the bad things you have. it's just worthless. Enjoy the time that you have with your loved ones. Tell them how much you love them. You know, eat an ice cream and just taste them. Just enjoy life. Definitely, that would help
Definitely,
them.
gratitude. What you said, gratitude is the most important part of being happy, of of happiness. Every morning that you wake up, I was reading about, I don't know who the person was, and I was reading about them, and they said every morning he wakes up, he says it changed his life. Every morning he wakes up and just says thank you.
Exactly.
You know, he says like thank you like 100 times or something like that. He just says thank you as he goes and brushes his teeth, as he goes, takes his shower, as he gets ready. And he says it just brings so much peace, and it just changes his whole attitude, for the day. It gets him ready, mentally ready for the whole day.
And that's true. And you mentioned this before in the last segment, like how to create, a habit. So once you start to train your brain, I'm grateful, I'm happy, I'm good, I feel happy, I'm in peace. When you start to tell yourself this all over and over, you create a pattern. And after that, it becomes a habit. So that habit affects your entire being. So definitely, that's one of the...
Should we just turn the news off and not watch the news at all to be happy? The news is terrible.
That's true. That's true.
And I know the political situation in all the countries actually, and including America. It's so bad that I think it's a huge element for our unhappiness, that we constantly worry about what our future is going to be, what the future for the kids are going to be. And there's just too many things that are, atmosphere is not clean, the air is not clean, the, gun control is out of hand, and, just too many issues. How do we deal with all this? How do we block it all out?
I would say one problem at a time. Like just take one problem, see if you can, if you have to resolve it, because there are some things that we cannot resolve. It's out of our control. Yet we have to be informed to see like what are we living nowadays. We have to be on track because we don't want to be behind and then we don't know what is going on. But so you just understand that there's some things that you can change and others that you can't. So just you need to be on control on the ones that you can actually change, and then just take one at a time. Okay, I already resolved this problem. Okay, I'll take the next one, and so on. Because if you just throw yourself all the problems on it, you're just gonna be overwhelmed. You're gonna feel frustrated.
I know there's one person who actually the news affected her so much that she actually started having palpitations. And
panic attacks, I'm sure.
Panic attacks. And so I'm glad that she realized this was the reason. And she said, that's it. I'm not watching any more news, and to get my mind out of it.
Exactly. So each person, it's very unique, and that's why I told you have to be in control of the things you can change.
Block unhappy thoughts. There are some people who just constantly harp on unhappiness.
Very important.
Yeah. How do you, some people are just happy people.
Yeah.
And for some it's a struggle. For the people who it's a struggle for, how do they block out those unhappy thoughts? And I mean, it's basically about themselves. They have low self-esteem. They have they worry about other people because it's a way of worrying about themselves, I guess.
Yes. Exactly. So one thing that they can do is, like everything in our mind is cognitive energy, like our thoughts. There is such a thing that we can actually block it or put something that I don't want to think about it. It's not going to pass. But what you can do is that instead of blocking it, you can replace it. So that thought your mental energy is going to concentrate in a positive thing. So what I like to tell everybody is like, if you have a negative thought, replace it with 2 positive ones.
Okay.
Like do something proactive. Like if you write it down, even better. If you're having bad thoughts, go and do something that you like. But just don't sit down and concentrate all your mental energy in the bad thoughts, or even trying to say, don't think about it, because it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Our mind doesn't work that way.
Basically distract yourself.
Exactly. And always keep in mind, replace it with positive thoughts. Just try to explain yourself like the opposite side of this bad thought, And
I feel that if you're a happy person, people around you will automatically become happy.
That's true. Because
Hopefully.
yeah. No. Believe me. Like as we were talking.
Happiness is contagious as well as unhappiness.
Yes, everything, and that's why we have a responsibility. As we were talking in the first segment, we have a responsibility in our society. We can contribute like in a positive way to everybody around us. Why not like all of us as parents, as classmates, as professionals, just try to make the life of others better in little things. You know, say hello, good morning, how are you? The people around you. You know, just be nice. Just little things that you can imagine how impactful can be for a person. Just try to influence others in a positive way, and then it's gonna make you feel good at yourself, and not only that, it's gonna affect the others in a better way. So definitely, happiness is contagious.
Happiness is contagious. Well, that is wonderful. That's just, okay, let's do another scenario where how do you help a child who's unhappy, just an unhappy child, as a mother, a child who's just negative, how would you help that child?
Well, since they're very little, you will be able to recognize what is making sad that child. There is not such a reason like he was born like that. No, there must be. You have to identify what is making him upset. But
isn't it personalities?
But no, yes, they might tend to be shy, but the state of happiness has to come like from like a external factor. There must be something that is influenced this child to be unhappy. Because if you I've been working with kids, and they're in general they're very happy unless something is going on in their home. But even if that is going on, they just want to play.
Or in their school.
Yeah,
something's affecting them emotionally.
It must be something. So the role as a parent is to recognize what is affecting my child. Is it even me? Like, we have to think, is the way I talk to my child, my discipline style, it's affecting my child? So once we recognize it, we're going to be able to create, this beautiful environment for our child. So we can, they love to play. So we have to spend time to our children. Instead of buying too many things, expensive things, why we don't just take a day off for my child? That's going to make them super happy. There is not such an expensive present that is going to affect them, as well as a time with their family. They need that. So definitely that would help a lot.
How do you help an unhappy husband?
Well, interpersonal relationships, we need a segment just to talk about that. But, again, communication is the key. Okay. We have to talk. We have to talk in any interpersonal relationship. We have to be able to express ourselves, to be ourselves, and to come to an agreement. Like, oh, okay, I'm able to give up this, but what are you able to give up? So we can say, okay, we like it, so we both feel that it's being fair. We try to give up some things that we like to do, but we just do it so we can make happy the other person. But it has to be reciprocal. Yeah. A healthy relationship, it's where both persons feel that it's been fair, that we're being receiving what I'm giving.
That's very important, reciprocal, that you're not, just because he's unhappy, you're not giving, that will make you unhappy as well.
Exactly.
Well, it's wonderful talking to you, and I think we need to wrap it up. What we've learned today is you can only have healthy atmosphere, you can only have healthy kids, you can only be successful or have self-esteem if you take care of yourself. You need to put yourself first. हम सबसे पहले आते हैं. हम अपने आप को as women, we have to give ourselves, number one position. अगर हम अपने आप को खुश रखेंगे, हम अपना ख्याल रखेंगे, एक्सरसाइज करें, हेल्दी खाना खाएं. We didn't get the time to discuss that, but healthy food is very important. Healthy habits are very important. ये सब रखेंगे तो हम भी खुश रहेंगे, हमारा खामन भी खुश रहेंगे, हमारे बच्चे भी खुश रहेंगे. We'll have a happy atmosphere. We'll be able to live good, happy, healthy lives. आप सबको एक अच्छी जिंदगी विश करती हूँ मैं. अगले प्रोग्राम और अगले मेहमान तक अल्लाह हाफिज.